Hello everybody, Tahoe YakFisher here. We are in my backyard, the kayak zone, if there can be a kayak zone that is not on the water, and looking at my fishing kayak. And I am going to try and fill this video with information because I have a lot of news for you. Some upgrades, some things that I have done, and some news about the future. Excuse me. Now, if you paid attention to the build of this kayak, I had a bolt right here that restricted the travel of the motor up, and because I was worried about how far these steering cables would go, because you see my steering triangle is below the clamp hardware, and I realized after like 3 years of use that bolt was probably unnecessary and that we probably had plenty of range. So here's our cam cleat, and we're gonna just give it the full yank up here. So we've gained quite a bit of elevation in the height of the motor. You can see it's way out of the water at this point, and we still have plenty of slack in the cables. So there's a nice little function feature that I have improved. Now, I have only touched on the steering cables being below the clamping mechanism, and I want to talk about that a little bit, you guys. Now, my steering cables, let's drop the motor back down. I removed all of the locking hardware from this motor. And the only reason that I can get away with that is because my steering cables are below the pivot hardware. So when you put this kayak in reverse, the motor's trying to go this way, and the only thing that's holding it down is the cables themselves. So if you're going to build your own and you're thinking about where to put your steering, keep in mind that if you can put the steering below the pivot hardware, then you can eliminate the locking mechanism. And why do you want to do that? Because the locking mechanism eliminated is what allows me to have the hoist mechanism. That is what allows me to pull the motor out of the water sitting on the chair. Okay, so there you have it. Point number one I wanted to talk about is DIY motors and the hoist mechanism, eliminating the lock, and how that can be advantageous as long as you can get the steering under the motor pivot. All right, anyway, next thing I'm going to talk about, check this out. I needed to make my motor controller quick release. The only thing that has ever left me stranded is the batteries of this controller dying. It's got a couple of coin cells. And so what I did is I used some hardware from my GoPro accessory kit. Okay, check this out. All right, so I just popped off the remote. It's in my hand right here. There's where those coin cells go. There is an adhesive GoPro mount, which means I had to kind of reverse the hardware. Here, look, if you guys are familiar with the GoPro stuff, there's 2 3-tab items, and I ground a little bit to get these 2 pieces to go together properly, but I was able to do it, and that is what allowed me to put it on this tripod mount. This is a tripod mount that came with my microphone, and it came with a little knurled threaded post for the tripod mount. Gets us to the quick release, and bam, we've got the quick release. It will pivot up and down. It kind of pivots back and forth like this, and it will rotate like this, using GoPro stuff. And there's another, I made a GoPro camera mount out of a bunch of accessories too that I'm going to show off. Hang on. Now, before I do that, I want to show you guys this contraption here. if you have the YakAttack switchblade transducer mount as I do, it comes ready for their lock and load feature. Well, all that lock and load feature is for this part is a longer T-nut. So that longer T-nut, I was able to put this Scotty gear head on, and between them is the mount for this controller, which is just a piece of aluminum with a hole drilled in it. But I have effectively put the transducer mount, a rod holder, and my controller on one threaded T-nut. Now, this isn't actually how I run it. I just knew I had these parts, and this thing had advertised that it was their lock and load compatible. And so I wanted to show you guys what you could do with that. And here's what I did. Now I'm going to show you how I am actually using this stuff. Okay, you guys, this is how I am rolling, and what we're looking at is a couple of Mighty mounts. I have the that's a YakAttack product, I believe. Mighty mount with that microphone mount that uses a tripod mount for my controller, and the transducer arm is by itself back here. Now, the reason that I am running it like this instead of all off of one T-nut is really because of this rod holder. I've been meaning to talk about these, review these. I haven't had a chance. These are my favorite for fishing with conventional reels. And to show you, illustrate that, I have my largest reel, which is my lead core setup, which is not a huge reel. It's a convector 30. And then my smallest reel, which is, I think, the convector 15. And here is that same rod holder, the Canon. And I'm just going to show you how good this works for these bigger conventional reels. We're going to drop that right in there. So that is that one. Fits very nice. Easy to grab it if there is a fish on. And then we're going to take that one out, and we're going to go and grab the smallest reel in my bunch. Now this one is even better. It's got a little hook that lets it, because it has the thumb hook right there, finger hook, it sits right in there and gets it further out away from the boat. A great position to troll from, and because it's further out of the rod holder, it's easier to grab if you have a fish on. So they don't make any of the post mounts or track mounts or anything for this Canon. These are Johnson Outdoors. They're really just made to work with Canons, downriggers, and that sort of thing. So you're stuck with this base, but this base is the same as a hole pattern as a Scotty base, which is why I was able to use it with these accessories to get it mounted on a track. So I have more pieces on the rail, but it's also nice and stiff and heavy duty. And okay, so that's that. Now we are going to move on to talking about the kayak a little bit in general. Oh, I was also gonna just show off. I made another little track mount for my camera. This is that Akaso V50. You know, I actually am not super thrilled about one aspect of this camera. There is no front light to tell you the camera is on. So if you're filming yourself, I can't tell if this camera is on or off. So if you're listening to me, Akaso, you need to change that. Now, if it sounds like I'm talking fast, I am. As I mentioned, there's a lot of stuff I want to get through. Now, we're going to talk about the kayak a little bit. I have been wanting to do a little bit larger motor. This is the 30-pound thrust motor, and like 2 3/4, 3 miles an hour is max. And I want to go up to a 40 or a 45, and that means I want bigger batteries too, which means I'm considering lithium ion batteries. And if I'm going to do or lithium phosphate or something of that nature, lithium batteries. And if I'm going to do that, between the motor and the batteries, I'm halfway to building another kayak. So you guys, I sold this kayak today. The guy's picking it up in the morning. I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm going to replace it with a bona fide SS127. I'm going to put a larger trolling motor on it. And I'm going to have a whole nother kayak to build. I've got a lot of good ideas. And so I just wanted to talk about this kayak one more time, kind of show you how it is set up to fish, talk about the cannons, talk about the motor. I have had so much fun with this boat that I wish this video was longer so that I could talk about how much I have enjoyed fishing it. But it is time to move forward. Got to break some eggs. And that bona fide kayak, we're going to do a bigger battery, a bigger motor. We're going to rig it to fish. I mean, rigging them, I'm nervous about getting rid of this kayak that I have enjoyed so much. But rigging a new one is going to be a blast. And we're going to make a whole bunch of videos to that effect. So say goodbye to the most awesome homemade motorized kayak out there. And I'll be back with you guys as soon as I have the new boat. Thanks very much for watching. Tight lines, YakFisher out.